So, before I did this video, I just want to do a quick update. I'm going to be streaming one day less over on Twitch due to me being honestly burnt out. No one likes to hear it, no one likes to say it, but I'm gonna say it, and that's what's happening right now. And I know in the future, when it's time to go and plan a wedding and stuff, I'm going to need to be mentally prepared and mentally healthy. And right now I'm not, and I don't want to make that get worse. But that's not why I'm here. That's not why you're here. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of the video. 10 years ago, I was introduced to World of Warcraft. For those of you who do not know what World of Warcraft is, it's an MMO, or a massive multiplayer online game. And it's often referred to as WoW, for short. It's set in the Warcraft RTS universe following the events of Warcraft 3, and its expansion, The Frozen Throne. It released in 2004 and has seen numerous post-launch expansions and updates ever since, the most recent of which is Battle for Azeroth. But at the time of this publishing, we'll probably already know about the next expansion, which is probably going to or not going to be called Shadowlands. Now at the time, I had no idea it would spark a desire in me that still exists to this day. Not only that, but my introduction to Blizzard's powerhouse of a franchise would lead me to find a new passion and inevitably help define who I am as a gamer. But before I get into that, I want to take this time to dedicate this video to my best friend Tom. Thank you for opening the portal and letting me experience all of this. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be the nerd that I am today. So jump back about 8 to 9 years. I'm in high school chatting with my best friend. He mentions that he plays World of Warcraft and I start razzing on him for it. He turns around, pissed, and says, "Hey, don't talk shit about it. Try it." And that's all the convincing I needed. A weekend or two goes by and I spend them at his house. He sits me next to him at his computer and he boots the game up. I was instantly intrigued. The colors and visuals had my attention because they were different than a lot of games that I had experienced at this point in time. He begins showing me his undead warlock and he starts talking about how he made his character, how he came up with his character's name, and just general lore and general game mechanics. This is how you walk, this is how you run, you can loot things off corpses when you kill them. You know, basics. That's really where it all began. Like, that's the catalyst. As the months progressed, I would begin spending more and more of my weekends there, and in turn, I would learn more about the world of Azeroth, and would even create my own character, a Blood Elf Warlock. Why Blood Elf? Well, at the time I wanted to play a human, and my best friend said no. I play the Horde, or I don't play at all. And I took what I could get, and Blood Elves looked the closest to humans out of all the Horde races at the time. That being said, I'm glad he made me do it, because I love the Blood Elves now, and I've never looked back. So I quested around Quel'Thalas, and I killed Springpaws and Mana Worms, and, you know, did all the party shit, and went through Eversong Woods and all that. And then I made my way into the Ghostlands. And that was spooky. The atmosphere of the Ghostlands alone was something that just drew me in. Because you go from Eversong Woods or Farstrider Retreat, and it's all gold and red leaves and all of this stuff. And then you get to the Dead Scar. Then you see the Scourge. And then you go further down the Scar, and all those gold leaves turn to barren trees, and the bright, lush, verdant green grass turns to this sickly blue. Shit was wild. But he taught me about class specs, rotations, and what demons to use and when. So I quested, and then I hit level 15, and I started doing dungeons. First dungeon I did, Ragefire Chasm. And I did Wailing Caverns after that, and they were amazing because, again, I never experienced anything like that up to that point. So what I thought was my basic understanding of the game with questing evolved when I realized I could do dungeons. But I was still nervous as hell because I was a new player. I was in Shadowfang Keep and I screwed up and I got scared because I didn't want to get reamed by my teammates for being a noob. So I started apologizing, which my friend recommended I do, and this dope dude named Barcode. We called him Barcode A or Barcode E because he had an accent mark over the E of the name. we started chatting and he told me it was okay, don't worry about it. Because I told him, I said, listen, I'm new. This is my friend's account. I don't know what's going on. I got pointy elf ears and I can shoot fireballs out of my hand. And we finished the dungeon, we killed the boss, and he teleported out. And after that, never saw the kid again. Nice guy, though. It was a great first experience and player-to-player interaction. I remember getting my Dreadsteed, and I remember getting my Felguard, and how I had to go through Ragefire Chasms and kill the boss and hopefully get the drop. These are memories that will stick with me, and I'm so happy that I have them. However, gameplay wasn't the only thing that would keep me invested over the years. In fact, gameplay wasn't one of the things that kept me engaged over the years at all, if I'm being honest. But before I go on, you have to understand something. At the time, I didn't have a desktop, just a crappy laptop given to me by my high school. I didn't have money for a subscription, and I wouldn't for years to come. This laptop, by the way, was a brick. I mean, like, even on setting 1, I would still only be able to just barely hit 30 frames. And if I was in a dungeon, forget it. It was game over. I was introduced to the game during the Wrath of the Lich King expansion, which is arguably the best expansion, depending on who you talk to. Some people might say Burning Crusade, and few people will say Kata, and we give those people weird looks. They're not allowed to sit with us at lunch. And it was then that my friend started telling me the tales of the main villain of the expansion, Arthas, and how he descended upon a dark road going from the Prince of Lordaeron to the dreaded Lich King. And then he told me about the struggles between the Horde and the Alliance, and I was truly captivated. This is when the game hooked me. After that initial taste, I went home, and I would go home every week, and I would try to consume as much World of Warcraft content as I possibly could. And that would lead me to find Jesse Cox's channel. He's one of the reasons why I wanted to be a YouTuber. He's one of the first people I saw on YouTube, and he made me want to do this. But that's a story for another time. I found his channel, and he was beta testing the Cataclysm expansion. And I watched every video of it I could. Because even if I couldn't play it, I wanted to experience it. And I remember to this day, one of my favorite parts is he was going through Gilneas in the Worgen starting zone, and every time he came up to Mr. Crowley, he would play the chorus from Ozzy Osbourne's song. So he'd go to talk to him, and he'd be like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And then you just hear, "Mr. Crowley," boom. Is one of my favorite parts. So I would even go on to make multiple starter accounts as the years progressed. And I say multiple because I would play for a bunch, I'd get a couple characters to level 20, and then I would forget about it, and I'd forget the password, and I'd have to make a new one. But that's besides the point. Even if my computer had to run it on literally the lowest setting, I wanted to try and play. I was that stubborn. Now, the years progressed, and after the Mist of Pandaria expansion, I began to keep up with the game just a little less. This was partially due to me starting college and focusing on different things, and I started to pay a little more attention to expansions later during Legion. And realistically, that's not true. It was more like 3 expansions later during Battle for Azeroth. Legion, I saw the cinematic and I thought it was dope as hell, but beyond that, I had no idea what was going on in the game at all. It wasn't until the months leading to Battle for Azeroth that I would really nosedive into the proverbial rabbit hole. That cinematic, that Battle for Azeroth cinematic, I didn't know what was going on, but I got hyped. And I was like, I want to save up, and I want to play WoW. So after all that, you're probably asking yourself, what kept you invested? Because you're telling us you couldn't play the game for a while. So how did you stay interested? In short, it was the world. It was the character. It was the lore. It was the stories that the game was already telling without me being there. Not being able to play the game left me wanting to play it, yes. but the world and lore made me constantly want to experience it. The stories of the great war chief Thrall, of how Arthas carved his way through Quel'Thalas, left me with this yearning. I'm really excited now because Warcraft 3 Reforged is hopefully still on the horizon. And with that, I'll be able to get to experience all of that lore and all of that just glorious battle in HD. So I'm just really excited for that. I remember my best friend spending 40 minutes in the car telling me about Sylvanas Windrunner. He told me her backstory, he told me what she was doing now and why he liked her. And then he also told me what he thought was going to happen after the Cataclysm expansion, which in his mind was Old Gods. Tom, let me tell you, I don't know, 4 or 5 years later, I don't know when Cataclysm came out. I think it was actually, I don't know. But you're right, we're fighting N'Zoth in 8.3, so kudos to you. It all seemed so fascinating to me, and if I couldn't experience it firsthand by playing, then I would experience it any way that I could. This past spring was really when I started to take matters into my own hand and start learning about the lore myself. Because yeah, my friend told me a lot, but there was a lot I didn't know, there was a lot I didn't understand. And that's when I found Nobble's channel, and I started at the beginning. Because thankfully, Nobble, if you're watching this, thank you. Thankfully, Nobble has a playlist of all the World of Warcraft lore he has done in chronological order. So I started at the beginning. And I've just been going. I actually just finished the Maiev Shadow Song videos, I think. But anyway, Nobble's a great guy. He's really funny. His lore videos are fantastic. I'll make sure to link them in the description box down below. So, now I'm actively playing, and I can safely say it was worth the wait. World of Warcraft kept me invested in it just by the mystery of its world and its tales of heroism and villainy. My character right now may still be just at the beginning of their journey, but I've been on it for almost 9 years. I cannot wait to find out what else Azeroth has in store. And that's about it. Thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you so much for letting me share this story. What do you guys think of World of Warcraft? Have you been a diehard fan since Warcraft Orcs and Humans? Or are you a Kata baby or a Wrath baby? Are you done with retail and throwing your life away at Classic again? Or are you too scared to go into Classic because you never played it to begin with and you're afraid of just getting your ass beat? Whatever the case, I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comments below. Now this is where I would normally tell you, if you liked the video, smash the like button. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. And tell me all about your life in my comments. But I'm not going to do that. I really haven't found my voice when I make videos like this, but it's something to make progress on going forward. With that being said, I have some special things in store for you guys that I'm really excited to make. I'm sorry this video took as long as it did to get out, but like I said at the beginning, I was feeling a little burnt out and I needed to catch up with myself. And I've started to, so hopefully things are going to be better down the road. But with that all being said, I hope you guys have a fantastic night or a fantastic day whenever you're listening to this, and I will catch you next time.